Is there anything you want to say before we start?
I'm like a Lincoln.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Trevor Hancock here, and we have a very special guest today. And this guy holds a really special place in my heart. He's kind of the guy that really got me invested, and he encouraged me whenever it came to filmmaking. So please welcome Gwen Shroyer. What's going on?
Hey, man, so glad to be with you today. And yeah, it's kind of exciting to see you uprooted and planted in new ventures and doing really well. I'm proud of you.
Thanks, and that's why I wanted to have you on. This episode's kind of a celebration. I definitely want to bring more people on that, had a lot of effect on me in high school. We already had my high school and English and soccer coach Tucker Blackman on here. Now we have Gwen Shroyer, and once we get Lindsay Bell on here, Lindsay Bell on here, we'll keep the Triforce.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
you
cool.
three were the most influential on me in high school.
Well, you picked some good ones. I'm sure there's some others along the way too. But I would also
Absolutely.
say that you're also one of the students that influenced me in a positive way and directly
Thank
made
you.
changes to the program and features that, kind of lit up students. You showed a lot of charismatic attitude, especially your first year. I mean, you came from out of nowhere and really proved yourself in some of the intricacies that other people didn't take. So you went there and you dive in with your whole heart and mind and, got scrappy in some of it. It was fun.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I forgot how this goes, but you always tell me about the first day I ran into your class. I was like sweaty or something. You always describe it in a funny way.
Yeah, you kind of didn't blend in. You're super excited to be there. You had so many questions and you had so many things. I almost felt like you wanted to prove immediately. And it was like you knew me already. It was like you knew kind of what we were going to try to accomplish, and you're just talking so fast and and apologizing too. Just it wasn't like you were trying to take control, but you're so excited. And yeah, it seemed like you had been waiting for that first moment, and you finally got there. You arrived, and that was a lot of fun for me too.
Yeah, absolutely. I just remember I was searching everywhere for how do I
Yeah,
get better at video? And somebody was like, you need to talk to Gwen Troyer. So I was like, what room is he in? And I
yeah,
remember bolting to your room, and I probably busted in through the door like Kramer from
yeah.
Seinfeld, and was like, "Are you Gwen Shroyer?" And you were like, "Yes." And you just answered every question I had, and I was like, "This guy probably thinks I'm going to be the worst student ever."
It's too funny. And yeah, you had some family that was around the area, so
Mhm.
I had heard of you before you came to me. So
Oh man.
hopeful that you would be in the program. I thought you were going to bring some good energy, and you definitely did. I mean, I still have videos. If I had a way to show them, I
Oh
would
man.
right now. Just some funniest stuff. I showed it. We still have our film festival every year, and I shared a couple of your videos. One where you're in your garage and you're doing the Queen song,
Oh
um,
yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian Rhapsody, and
Oh my
really
gosh.
getting into it. And another one of you and Luke out with some cows. And
Luke Litchell. That was a good
yes,
one. Did you
yeah,
feed the
so
cows? I
did you
remember
feed the
that
cows?
one.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
That was
And
fun.
then there were some more serious things, but I didn't show those. I just typically wanted to show something kind of goofy and fun,
Mm,
and got a lot of laughs. I mean, that is a day of celebration for us. You went through that several years.
mm.
Um, we try to make that super special for everybody involved, from the least to the ones that are the most magnificent. It doesn't matter. It's all about putting in effort, learning, and taking pride, and associating with those around you that are in the same exact moment.
Yeah, it's always really fun. I remember going to those festivals like in between classes. They were always a good time. It was something to look forward to. And let me ask you this.
Sure.
So I remember just, obviously looking back, the quality is low as far as like cameras and, understanding video editing and everything. But with all this information out there on the internet now about filmmaking and editing and everything, Has that improved with the quality of videos in your students?
It's improved quite a bit, and we have improved our equipment. I mean, we use Blackmagic Design studio cameras, 4K in the studio now, big 7-inch monitors. When you were there, we were still analog, you know, really, really being creative with what little we had. I remember those cameras that you used to use, the really small cameras. They would just disintegrate in your hands after a
Pretty
while.
much.
They were worthless. We have some really nice big JVC Pro cameras now. Everything we have is either 4K or better. Um, I've probably got about 16 great cameras, and the students really have activated the use of that. And yes, it's all about knowing how to use it. It's also about being creative. And I really start there before we get into the crazy amount of editing. I start with the creative side of you have to make something from nothing. So you have to form ideas, brainstorm, write it down. Really important to be prepared, the pre-production, phase, and create from that into production and make something. And then once you think you have everything, captured, then post-production. And, without those three key elements of how we do things, one is just as important as the other, but really I start with the creativity and the pre-production. I think that's something that you escalated really well. You came up with crazy ideas. In the news class that we had a really horrible small 10 by 12, I don't even know if it was that big, 10 by 12 maybe, studio with a green screen, and we tried really hard to make that look professional. And unfortunately we had weird sized anchors, and you and Autumn Brown, who's back in Cleveland now, and putting those things in perspective. Now we have an actual news set with a background, have 3 different TVs that we can add graphics to. We have a TV on the desk. It's a desk that features 4 people, and then we also have a green screen, as well as some other places in the room that we can use for other type of sets. And we do a lot more than we did when you were there. We do as many coaches shows as there are days in the week, every week, which are anywhere from 10 to 25 minutes long. We do a lot of other administrative videos. We do videos from outside, commercials for local TV station, and also doing a commercial for a law firm this week. Just, a lot of things that the students get involved in. And we also have switched over, since you've been there, into social media. Social media is like you're doing right now. It's such a big part of our daily lives. And it is what is creating the energy and the buzz in the video world, whether it's film, whether it's TV episodes, or just, random TikTok, or, hey, this is how you make something. Let me remove this motor, and here's how you put it back in. Any of that stuff, it's all social media platform now. So we really highlight that. I have students that go to a local furniture factory. Well, we're not this year because of COVID, but the furniture factory pays them really well, and they handle all the social media for the entire business, from hiring to how-tos to basic disciplines within the shop areas. This is how we're going to redirect our attention and make this better. And they put all that stuff on social media. It's been fun to be a part of that. See the local community respond. Whirlpool has also done that, and Vocker. We've had, great success working with some local companies, and they've been great to us.
That's awesome. And so going back to, you really stress creativity on your students. And
Oh yeah.
I remember being a teenager, and I've always been a driven guy, like as far as being creative, but how do you install that drive to, be creative, think outside the box to your students?
I think for some students, not all, for some students, it's on the tip of their tongue. They're made that way. You were like that. You were made that way. I have some students, I really have to pull it out of them. I had a student the other day. He has a twin brother. The twin brother literally identical twins, except one parts his hair this way, the other one parts his hair that way. I saw them the
Oh,
other
no
day
way.
sitting side by side. One had his leg over across to the left, and one had his crossed over to the right. And I'm like, they're identical opposite twins. Well, one of them was blowing it out, creativity, jumping in everything we would get involved in, just totally wide open. The other one, yeah, I don't want to do that, and I have to really build a relationship, because that's the key. Build a relationship with each student, and especially those that need a little prompting, and use that to, I'll say, manipulate them, but to dive in and figure out their inner workings, what best will reach them, and allow them to pull that to the forefront. Not every student's great at that. Some will argue, some will, literally fight. I'm not doing it. I'll take a 0. Well, we get around that somewhat by me not being so pushy, and I'm really want them to work well, and I'll partner them up with somebody that's creative, and usually rubs off, and gets into that. But the creativity, it's very much an arts class, and I think on the level, anything we do is about that. So
Absolutely. I remember like doing theater in your class. It was just such a great breath of fresh air because, being a high school student can be tough, going
oh
from
yeah,
English to math to science, doing all these classes you don't really want to do. And then being able to go to your class or Lindsay's class for an hour or whatever was
yeah.
just always just a great time.
Yeah, and West Side Story, that was a great escape. That was my first
Yeah.
active role with theater, partnering with them and co-directing West Side Story, which is a classic movie. And
Mhm.
people that don't know the Broadway version, that it's actually a play, that it stems from a play first into a movie. And when
Mhm.
you put it on a high school stage, I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong, but there's so many things that can go right. And when you see students in their adolescent, peaking in the mindset that I can do anything because they feel immortal, they take on those various roles and achieve things that maybe they didn't even know they had in them. And it's really fun to watch, and kind of guide. I really enjoyed that. I only did that play, and then the next year we did Grease, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. But at that same time, we started streaming sports on campus, so it kind of pulled me out of that. Not that I, don't miss it from time to time, and every once in a while, Lindsay will prompt me and say, "Hey, we're going to do blah blah blah," which I've heard they're going to do School of Rock next year, possibly. And I'm thinking,
Oh,
wow, that
cool.
would be so fun, But it's not about. Um, there's only one me,
Mhm.
and the streaming is me. We do streaming after school, and I am just, really wound tight on making sure we do things right. And so many things can go wrong um, on a moment's notice. And this, before you even learn how to edit, before you even learn how to get into the designation of any title within my program, you're first and foremost a troubleshooter,
Mhm.
because things go wrong. And you have to have the mindset, I am capable of figuring it out. I don't have to lose my mind. We can set this up, be really calm, and go into it, figure out the difficulties, and make things happen. So that's kind of across the board too, even in play production, even in basic editing. What's going to go wrong? Oh, the computer's malfunctioning. Anything can go wrong.
Absolutely. And that's something that I preach to everyone whenever it comes to filmmaking or really any creative endeavor. Creativity, in my opinion, is not, it's not all these flashy things that you get to see. It's not the end result. It's not the pretty painting. It's not the beautiful film or the catchy song. It's all the work that goes into it.
Yeah, and
It's
it's
all the
digging in and
problem
getting
solving.
dirty. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
it's a problem solving. The music videos and the
Mm-hmm.
commercials that I've shot since I've been here in Atlanta, 99% of everything that went into it was figuring out, okay, if this happens, what do we do here? And
Right.
then getting on set, you can plan as much as you want, but once you get on set, like something will go wrong and you're gonna have to be creative enough to get out of that.
That's right. And you got to have a mindset that it's okay. You're going to figure
Mhm.
it out.
Yeah, and I think
So,
that's why it was your class is so important because it's a great space to fail. And I don't mean that in a negative way.
It
It's
is.
a
It
great
is a great
space
space.
to it's a great space to fail and learn from it.
Right.
That's
That's
why it's
true.
school.
And also as a person, it's not just the content of my class. I think kind of having a safe place to fail,
Hmm.
um, and become your own person. I have students, they'll come in and they are so just somebody that I would not want to hang out with because they're so antsy. They're coming out of the middle school environment and just too much of a freshman. And I'm not playing that, lightly either. There's some freshmen I really am, wow, I can't believe I'm spending time with you nonstop. But I get to see them grow out of it. And I know that's on the other side. That's why I stay with it. And
I
some
grew out of it,
students,
or at least I hope I did.
yeah, you did. I remember you freaking out a few times. There was an incident I remember in the parking lot with some noises coming from a car that was just way too much for you to handle, I guess, emotionally and mentally at the time. And
Yeah, it was
I
my
remember
first
this,
car.
and I remember this kid rolling around in the parking lot and screaming. And, I remember grabbing you and saying, it's okay. Let's fix it. And we
Yeah,
did.
it was my first car. I remember
Yeah.
that. It was in the parking lot. And I was trying to be cool. I had a Honda
Yeah.
Civic. You could put it in neutral and rev it up as you're going.
Yeah.
So instead of going in neutral while I'm rolling, going like 10 miles per hour, I hit it in reverse. And my car, it started making this
Yeah. It
noise.
shuddered. Yeah. And it was
And
a fan piece or fan
it
hood.
was just something so simple, but I thought it was the end of the world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you
But,
grabbing me and telling me everything's going to be okay, like
and
that
we
was,
fixed it. I mean,
yeah, we fixed it.
formidably, it was something that needed a real repair, but we fixed it for the time being. And we were able
Mhm.
to isolate, decide that's what the problem was. So,
Yeah, that was actually a really important moment in my life. I remember that. I know it may have been minuscule to you, but I remember just thinking, freaking out is not never going to solve anything. It's only going to
yeah.
make things worse. And, you know, most of the problems that happen in people's lives, they're not that big, especially in high school.
And they don't end the world.
Yeah, my world was not over after my car made that
Yeah.
sputtering noise. We fixed it in like an
And I
hour.
do understand the reasoning beside just the what I was looking at. I understood what you were going through emotionally. You were thinking it's your first car. My parents are going to be upset.
100%.
It was beyond just what you were in control of in the moment.
Mhm.
And I said, well, we'll figure it out. And it worked out okay. And I remember your dad saying something to me later and, hey, that was great. You figured that out. That's awesome. We fixed it. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and you got great parents. I mean, your parents are very loving and astute and really allowing you to flow into what you want to accomplish. I think a lot of my parents are not that way. My parents,
Mhm.
not my parents, but the parents of my students.
Right, right.
They have a difficult time managing what their children want to aspire to be. And it's not that they have something planned out for them. It's just, it's a time issue. It's a investing at stake issue. And a lot of parents don't do that. Now, on the other hand, there are some like yours that did. Um, I have parents that call me um, late November, early December. Hey, what can I get, my son or my daughter for Christmas? Because they want to do what you're doing. And I'm
That's
like, well,
awesome.
do they have a camera? Do they have, a laptop or a desktop, or do they have anything? I said, let's start there. If they do, maybe a green screen pop out or something they can have fun with. And, um, but then I have the parents that are like, I don't even want to pay that class fee. It's $30. I
Ooh.
know it's going to break the bank, but, and in some cases, that's the absolute truth because Bradley Central High School, it's a Title I school. It's not the most affluent community uh, of parents and students that are part of our programs. But that being said, there's a whole great vibe of student learning, and that's a great momentum to carry on each year.
Mhm.
So, regardless of student fees or whether you have a microphone or a laptop or a camera at home, we make purposeful decisions in the classroom that can change your life if that's something that you really want to do or dream about.
Yeah, absolutely. It was super beneficial for me. And so you never planned to be a teacher, did you? Where did you start
Yeah.
exactly?
So, I think everybody, when they're in high school, they look at teachers that they love,
Hmm.
seriously, that they absolutely love. And there's some aspiration to be like them. And I did a couple of times want to be a music teacher.
Hmm.
But when I set out to go to college, I had two things on my mind. I wanted to study saxophone and voice. So it's really two things in one.
Hmm.
And in that line, I did music ed, but I also did communications, mass comm, because I wanted to get involved in calling sports games. Um, Kurt Gowdy, Keith Jackson were my heroes growing up. I could turn on the radio and the imagery of their words could speak right through me. I could visualize everything they were saying. I wanted to do that. TV is cool, but the radio element of being able to say colorful things and be a wordsmith and really just tell it like it is, and you be able to picture that on the other side is amazing. Um, so I did mass comm, and yeah, it was pretty pleasing. Of course, playing saxophone, I still play, and singing and writing, still all of that musicality I love. In fact, I have a class at school called Rock Band, and one of your formidables there, Heath, was a part of that for a year. Really cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
Heath and Kyle.
and Kyle, that's right, and Kyle. And I love to look back on my adventure going into college, what I thought I was going to do, because I didn't finish. I did 2 years and left, went to work at a bank, got married, had a son. Um, then I decided, you know what, I'm going to go back. I'm going to finish my bachelor's degree, and had a daughter. And that's when I realized, you know what, life happens. You don't have to segregate everything exponentially. Like, go to college, then get married, then have kids. Sometimes it all happens
I feel like a
together
lot
like
of
that.
people view life that way. What kind of
Well,
made you have that realization?
when I was in the middle of it, I mean, I
Mm,
just woke up one day. I was like, wow, that's what's going on. It's not a tolerance thing. It's a troubleshooting. This is where we're going. And
mm.
so I ended up going to University of Tennessee, did that for a while, did not finish there, ended up a really great decision with Berkeley School of Music in Boston, and finished my bachelor's degree with them in music business. Not casting aside the communications part, because I ended up being an editor for a TV ministry and loved that version of editing. It was all tape, and you would get a kick out of that. There was no nonlinear editing. It was serious tape to tape. And,
I'm almost glad I didn't grow up with that.
but let me tell you, that taught me a lot about how to edit when going into nonlinear. And it,
Mm.
it felt like a really cool transformation, because nonlinear is so much better, so much easier, so much more visual. And of course, the HD, when that came around, that was amazing. So yeah, when I started editing, I
Mhm.
was using Adobe Premiere. Then they came out with Premiere Pro. I mean, we're way back. Gosh. Anyway, I was doing editing for a TV station, started doing sports, started calling games, started working on the sidelines, um, covering basketball with the Lady Vols, covering Tennessee football, which awesome years, going to the national championships, seeing bowl games, seeing players that covered even locally, like Brittany Jackson here locally, covering her in high school, and then seeing her go and play at the
She's a
next level.
Cleveland legend.
Yeah, pretty much. And still is. And then she played
Mhm.
some pro ball, and then she got into the NBA network. And I actually made her promo video when she decided to hang up the hoops shoes and grab the microphone, and worked with her on developing a really cool promo reel. And she was successful. She got a job with NBA network, and
Well, that's awesome.
it was fab. So, but spun around in that world for a while. And in 2005, a great friend of mine that I used to meet up with, eat lunch with, he was the supervisor in Hamilton County Schools for career and tech ed. And he asked me to help him prepare a high school broadcasting program that would be placed at Saudi Daisy. And, being a friend, I'm like, yeah, that sounds like, fun, whatever. So we researched, we put together a lot of different plans, got state approval. He asked me to teach the class. Well, I was excited about that, but it was still a couple years away. In the fall of 2005, I got a call from him telling me that he had an open door situation at Chattanooga Central and I could get my feet wet. And if I liked it, I could roll with it, move to Saudi the next year. And, there we go. So prayer and consideration, my wife being a teacher, it kind of helped some of that advice, from him and making that decision. I jumped into it. It was a website making class and also a multi-level marketing class, internet marketing class, which I finished out that last month of December teaching that. But the next month, or the next semester, rather, the spring semester, we did all TV broadcasting classes at Chattanooga Central. We set up a news program. We called it Central News Now, CNN. We took there was a spoof song from AC/DC that somebody had rewritten to CNN, and we used that as our intro. Kara Boehm, do you remember Kara at Bradley? I think she was a couple years behind you, but Kara, being in my classes, ended up transferring to Chattanooga Central, and she was an anchor over there as well. And I saw her a couple years after she graduated. She's telling me that they still talked about Shroyer, the Shroyer element of what they do. I'm like, that's so cool. Well, then the next year I went to Saudi Daisy. I spent over $300,000 on equipment at Saudi Daisy that first year. It was amazing. I mean, we had some nice stuff,
Awesome.
Big pedestals in the studio, and unreal amount of great stuff. At the end of that year, I got a call from Danny Coggin, Walker Valley. He's like, hey, and I'm, friends with Danny. He says, we want you to come over here and teach broadcasting at Walker Valley. We know you still live in Cleveland and be a great driver. He's trying to sell me on. I'm listening. And at the end, I'm just like, no, man, I love Saudi Daisy. This is, I have built this up. I want this to go somewhere and keep, driving it home. And for some unknown reason, at the end of the thing, I said, but if Bradley were to call, I would consider it because that's where my kids go to school. The next week, I got the call from Bradley. And long story short, Johnny McDaniel comes in. He's the principal and pulls me in. I'm coaching golf at Saudi Daisy too. So he's pulling me in during the summer. And I left that, come to Bradley and start with a laptop, a camera from home, a really bad looking green screen that was just paint on the wall, and a couple really abused lapel mics. And that's all we had. I didn't have any computer desktops. I didn't have any workbooks. I didn't have any textbooks. I had 25 kids in my classes just looking at me, and that, you remember the classroom, how small it was.
I do.
And they were, I had to entertain a lot and, teach way outside of the box. I don't even know if there was a box anywhere close. And then about halfway through the year, they gave me 3 brand new desktop computers with Adobe software and bought a TriCaster for switching video and I think 6 small cameras, which were very consumer grade cameras like you could buy at Walmart. Very, very, very consumer grade. But it was a cheap purchase. I think we spent maybe $25,000-$30,000 on all of that. And so I had learned really quick, I have to grow this program. Right now, I have about 30 30 desktop computers. I have a few laptops. I have about, like I said, 16 cameras that the kids can use, plus the 4 that are in the studio that they can't use. We have a pretty new TriCaster system that allows us to do video switching in the studio. I have a portable trailer, big, nice 12-foot long trailer that has a wonderful StreamStar switcher from Finland that does sports production unreal. It's probably the best sports production system there is. And we have one of them. We have the lesser version. We have the 4-camera version. They make them that will hold up to 32 or maybe 40 inputs, but this one does 4, which is exactly what I need.
I think you showed me that when I last came to visit you.
It's really neat. And of course the kids get to, use that. And here's the best part, Trevor. I don't remember exactly how I did back then because we didn't do streaming, but you did do the news. So my portion of being involved is kind of getting it started, kind of moderating, making sure everything's moving, and then getting out of the way. So when we stream at night, everything's set up. I make sure that everything's working. Everybody's doing their part. They're pitching in, setting up equipment. I make sure that everything's connected, working well, and then I get out of the way. I have a director. The director's job is to direct. I have a producer that's over all the content. That's their job. My job is just, last moment troubleshooting. If they really can't figure something out, I'm there. But I think that's how you learn. I don't want to spoil my kids to the fact that I'm doing everything for them. And I see other high school programs that do that. And I'm not scoffing them because they'll learn the best way to do it on their own. And it's not
So
my job.
how do you learn to trust the kids?
You don't. You just have to put them in a place that they have to either do it or fall flat and figure it out until they do it. And it's okay. It is a high school, man. It's a proving ground. Like you said, it's a great place to fail. And if you don't fail, you've been spoiled. You really don't know what's up. So I want to give them that chance, that opportunity to fail. But at the same time, I want to push them and give them every tool and notion they need to succeed. And granted, there's some major failures. Last year, graduation, this is COVID season. Half the people, or maybe they were only allowing a third of the people to show up, whatever it was. We're 3 to 5 minutes into graduation. I've got 4 cameras. It's beautiful. We've got graphics, great audio. The internet goes down. Down. And if it wasn't for some quick thinking from a guy I know, I put two SD cards in every camera and hit record. So at the end of the day, the stream was a gut-wrenching failure. But at the same time, we still had the full video, which had to be edited, granted. So there's a lot of time in post, but we had something. And the kids learned a lot. And I treated it like it's going to be okay. We're still doing our job. Do not let down. There's people that will want to see this. We will provide it. Yes, it will be delayed. And yes, they may not be as happy because they didn't get to experience it live. I hate that for them. Really do. But at some point, we're also provisioning the best capable moments that we can on, an HD quality DVD. And what we ended up doing was everybody that bought a DVD, I included a free one in there with a note says, and I didn't explain our failure. They knew. I just explained, maybe somebody didn't get to see this. Please give this to them. So we made something special out of it. And, the cost was minimal. It was nothing to provide one extra disc for each person that bought one. The kids, though, realized how important it was for us to finish. Even though it wasn't live, it was a really important lesson. So we go through, things like that you can't plan for. You can't really prepare for it. But when it happens, you've got to make something out of it. And I had the most compliments from those free DVDs. Dozens and dozens and dozens of people contacted me personally, thanking me. And, I thought that was extra special. For me, the hindsight was we made a failure into something that worked, Anyway, there's a lot of reasons to congratulate my students when the pressure's on and they figure out when it happens how to make the best of it. And I try to prepare them by being calm wanting them to be calm. You cannot go into a pressure situation freaking out. You just can't. So some of that is the nature of how you approach it, and you're good at that too. You've got an easy, laid back feel. You get excited on the excitable moments that are, impressionable. Somebody gets a kick out of something you're doing, you're going to get excited. I know you well enough to know that. And
Very much.
And that's a great thing. I love to celebrate those kind of things. I have students all over the world, doing different things. They're not all in TV news. They're not all in sports. They're not all in music production. They're not all in film production. They're not all in corporate gigs like you and, working in multimedia outlet hubs of the world like Atlanta. But some of them are maybe thriving in a church situation where they're doing all the arm length media in a church. Some of them are producing small town albums, for a small town. They got the little studio and they're working it, man. Some are doing music videos or on the road with the Eagles, doing the in-ear audio for the Eagles, or working with ESPN, outright. And Alex Sturgill. And
I do.
Alex was not my student in high school, and I have no claim to his unreal abilities and insight on how he does, all the things that he does really well. He is flat incredible. However, when Alex was in middle school, back when it was Bradley Junior High School, he was my intern at the TV station.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He came to me literally out of nowhere and asked if he could be a part of it. I'm thinking, you're in middle school, man. I don't know if there's a liability issue. I mean, I don't have time to babysit. I just don't know. And so he came to visit with me, and I learned really quick that he knew his way around some gear. I mean, what our age, you're 12, 13 in middle school, maybe 14.
Yeah.
And here's a kid that knew his way around a camera, knew how to set up white balance. That is amazing right there. Knew how to be camera steady with it on his shoulder. And so I asked him and paid him to go to our local high school football games and cover the game, and come back and help edit. So that's my only claim to being a part of Alex's life, other than knowing him all these years. But he was not under my tutelage, other than just working for me as an intern, and nobody else got that opportunity. Everybody else was college age mostly.
Absolutely. And Alex is a stupid talented guy. I'd love to have him on my show.
Unreal. And he worked the Super Bowl just a couple of weeks ago with Steadicam. Just
unbelievable.
Crazy. Yeah, Alex is great. And a hometown hero.
Yeah, I wanted to get your opinion on this real quick. So at the Super Bowl, they started using mirrorless cameras like on stabilization.
Yes.
I think they use the A7S III. And since you're an expert in broadcasting media, do you see that shifting, especially sports, like shifting more towards those cameras?
You're speaking because you like cinematic, right? I mean, that's your...
I do.
Yeah, cinematic cameras are a super blessing. I think they record really well. There's some antiquated cinematic cameras they don't make anymore that I would love to have a few of. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's going to go that way as far as the sports world. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, you're asking a great question, and the digital format, of a cinematic camera is super cool. I'll tell you what I do know. There is a new camera that is the cutting edge of cameras. Forget me not. And these words you need to hold true to. Pixelot. It's out of Europe. Pixelot. Sounds like Pixar or something like that, but it's looks like a projector, and it's got camera, two cameras in it, kind of going opposite, and a scissor type form. And this is a camera that they're calling AI, artificial intelligence, and it is programmed to do like 16 different sports. You hook it up, say on a stadium, and this camera knows the gameplay. So let's say football, it will move in, it sees the play forming, it knows to back up with the quarterback, but still have enough view over here so you can see where he's going to go with the ball. After he throws the ball, it tightens in on the receiver, follows through the play. When the play's over, it knows to look for celebration. In the middle of a play, let's say it's not a scoring play in this play stoppage, it knows to look for the referee. It's the craziest thing. Nobody's operating it. It's not like there's a man in a room somewhere going, with a joystick. It's totally programmed. I think that's where sports production is going to go. And we have 2 of them. Talk about cutting edge. 2 of them at Bradley.
Wow.
Yes, just got them. Have not even installed them yet. We'll have one in the gym. We'll have one on the football field. If you look online, just go to YouTube, type in Pixelot, and you'll see games that have been produced with Pixelot that you can see how basketball games, soccer. And it's not so much trying to eliminate camera people as much as maybe your one main camera.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
That sounds a little problematic for
here's
jobs.
the way we work it. So our main camera is destined to be the best image while the ball's in play. Okay. Mm-hmm. If ever we have a camera person that loses attention that's on that one camera, it shows immediately. And I'll have somebody say, get the camera back on the ball. You're not even showing the play, kind of thing. And because we have chat rooms and, people at home, they're the armchair producer. They're telling you how to create the show. Anyway, so that will be our main camera. Then we'll have 3 other cameras because we're a 4-camera shoot. We'll have 3 other cameras on candids, on the coaches, on specific players on the field. So we can do a replay. So maybe we're thinking, okay, this is going to be, so we got a running quarterback. He just likes to be mobile. I got one kid, tight shot on the quarterback. No matter what, he stays. Even if the play is no good, don't need it. But on the given chance that play is what it is, and he rumbles down the field 20, 30 yards, and it's awesome. We've got an awesome replay. On times when the ball's not in play, those cameras can be on the coaches, or on crazy timeouts, or just, filler time, they can be on the audience, cheerleaders, whatever. And those things are used. Whereas that one camera, it's only got the one job. When the ball's in play, it knows how to follow that around. So that's up to the director how those shots are used. I will tell you this, you don't change shots when the ball's in play. You keep on the same camera, the midfield camera, you use it all the way through the play. And that's another mistake I see a lot of high schools doing. They got all these gimmicky shots, set up down in the corner. I was watching a basketball game produced by a high school, and I told this teacher about it. I told him, I'm not trying to be all uppity. I said, this is common knowledge. If you're doing a game, you keep that shot steady and you don't go off of it until after the ball's out of play. You hear the whistle, okay, take another shot. They were switching cameras while the ball's in play. It's very confusing. But here was the kicker. On the opposite side of the arena, on the bottom floor in the corner, there was a camera. On the opposite side, the other side. So the ball's coming.
And they switched to that.
And they switch to that, and all of a sudden the ball's going the other way. It's too confusing. You can't do it. Or right when somebody's taking a shot, you go to a close-up. Who cares? Show the play. Mm-hmm. And anyway, it's one of those things you have to learn and then adhere to, and you don't change it. And you tell your students, this is how we do it. And it keeps everything clean. It's great to have all those other shots because that's the color. Man, you're showing that coach jumping up and down because one of his players got a technical, and, you can't do that with your main shot. You got to have one that's close up. So that's what those cameras are for, part of that learning experience.
Absolutely. And I don't shoot for broadcasting for AEW, but I do shoot like the promos. But I know whenever I'm watching the show, if a wrestler's picking a guy up and he's going to slam him into the ring, it'd be silly to cut to the crowd right before that shot.
Or to the other side.
Or to the other side, because it's really confusing to everyone.
Yeah, it is.
So you keep the camera, whatever camera is showing the action, that's the camera that it's going to stay on.
Yeah. Now, in wrestling, you might go to a close-up if he's, just prancing around and,
oh, yeah,
puffing up. But in action, you don't change the shot.
Hmm. I know wrestling is fake. I know that's a hard fact to believe, but there's a lot of sports broadcasting elements that go into those productions. It's
Oh
very
yeah,
similar. I
that's
love
true.
it. So I wanted to ask you this, but I wanted to let you keep talking because I liked what you were saying. But um, I still like the aspect of like learning how to fail in a classroom. So how do you teach your students like because in English you fail a test, the most
Yeah,
the teacher's probably going to do is pat you on the back and say better luck next time or something like
that's a
that.
great question. And I
Hmm.
did this to you. I'm sure of it.
Hmm.
So call it pulling the rug out. And so let's say this kid named Trevor is your anchor, and he's doing a stellar job day in, day out. Everything's perfect. Just couldn't ask for more. Well, one day you pull the power cord out of the teleprompter. What happens?
Don't have the words.
What do, Trevor?
You
Do
have
you
to
make it up? Do you have
improvise.
do you have a little script in front of you that you learn how to look at? And I mean, there's ways that you do that, and you almost have to make it uncomfortable. And I don't go
Hmm.
around telling my students that. I don't like them knowing that I have that kind of approach. It sounds kind of mean,
Hmm.
but at the same time, it's a what if. It's a real world situation. Um, or change the deadline. Okay. Hard deadline is this coming Friday. Oh my gosh, I just heard from corporate. They got to have it tonight. They're using it tonight. You've got to give it to me today. And they're like, oh, I'm not even editing yet. I'm like, you just started. Let's go. And kind of help them through it, walking as gently as you can without pulling out a whip and making them feel just beat down. But at the same time, you want to keep some good energy in there.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember not even in your class, but I remember just being, I mean, obviously I was a teenager, but oh man, why does Mr. Shroyer or Mr. Oakley, why do I have to turn this assignment in by Friday? Why can't they do it until next Friday or something?
yeah,
And now being an adult, I'm like, you guys were preparing me for, meeting deadlines. Meeting
yeah,
deadlines is very important.
it is how you get paid.
Exactly. And I can't tell you how many times I've been told, hey, I need this by this day. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then someone says, hey, I need it by tonight.
Yeah,
And then
it's
it's like,
exactly
all
right.
right, okay, I guess I have to pull an all-nighter.
Yeah. Well, we
Absolutely.
we step into those situations lightly. I don't really try to, like I said, to beat down, but
Hmm.
um, you know some of the kids, and you know what they're capable of. So that's what I work within. If I see maybe stretching their ability a little bit is okay, but I'm not going to do it to them if I know there's just no way. I mean, that would be
Hmm.
ridiculous.
Another question I wanted to ask you is, so you were a really good mentor to me whenever I was in high school, and you're also a parent yourself. Like, how do you ride that line between, you know, practically parenting a group of kids versus, parenting your own kids?
Well, I've had all three of my children in my class, and my first year at Bradley, my son Cody, he was in my class both semesters, and that was a thrill. Of course, I'm close to my kids. We're all about each other's business. We have a lot of after school activities that they're involved in, so it's part of our family unit. But the favoritism side in the classroom, I really tried to make everybody feel like they're my kid, somewhat. I don't try to use that. Hey Cody, you get to do that, but they can't because they're not my kid. That would be ridiculous. One example of that, my youngest, Chloe, she graduated in 2016 from Bradley and is a student at Lee there. Um, we had done, I think you were there. We went to Skills USA in 2014. Is that when you graduate? No, you
I
graduate in
graduated in
11,
2012.
12. Okay, that's way after you. I was thinking about Autumn and some other students that
Mhm.
did Skills USA, but that would have been much later. Anyway, Chloe was taking on this with Jack Shoemaker as anchors, and then I had two other upper level students that were the production side of that, and it was a dismal failure. The production side of it, they lost track of the timing, the
Mhm.
directing. cues and all that just went haywire, while Jack and Chloe did their best to read all the news, and they just read it off the air. I mean, basically
Mm.
timed out, and it was done too quick. We learned a lot from that. The next year we did not compete. In 2016, her senior year, we took all that knowledge, and I, really found a plan that I wanted to use. And we went in, and I won't say we destroyed the other teams, because that's not what it's about, but we really shined what we were capable of. And we won our first state championship as a news team. That was a really great feeling. And even more so because my daughter was a part of that. In fact, here's the ring right here. If you can see that ring, it's kind of cool.
Box news.
Yeah, man. Big old chunky. Look how big that thing is.
That is big.
So I've got 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we've won the past consecutive years. We didn't have it last year, so we're still the reigning champions, I like to say. We will compete again next month. Now they allow schools to take 2 teams. So I have an A team and a B team, and they'll work it really hard. It gives those underclassmen a chance that they wouldn't have had other than watching, which that's not fun. Even if you're not the next best, at least you have an opportunity to practice and kind of get the routine down, get acclimated to the whole idea. And, that's a big deal. And we also, when you win the state, you go to nationals. So we went to nationals 4 years in a row. And my daughter being the first one, to win state, she was the first one to get to go to nationals. So
That's awesome.
I have some pretty high expectations for my kids. So maybe at home, I might say a few things, encouragement, but, I try to treat them just like my other students as well. So it's both ways. I want everybody to feel like they're my kid, as it were, that relationship issue. I teach from a relationship. If I have a student in my class that I don't have a very personal relationship, good chance of failure. I've always had that feeling, gut instinct, that I need to know a lot about each one of my students. And I think they end up knowing a lot about me. It's a two-way. And out of that, I feel like I'm able to kind of reach in their mindset and find what they're capable of and push them a little bit harder without the beat down, without the, those gross teacher moments of screaming and whatever. Anyway, love my kids, love that they were a part of, my program. That means a lot to me. But at the same time, I love that they have their own pursuits. My son is a chef. He studied communications at Lee, just like you. And after Lee, he went right into cooking. And and it's his thing. I mean, he's certified. He's very qualified. He's good at it. Runs the dining hall. My other 2 daughters have figured out what they want to do. It's funny how they all use video, though. Cody made a cooking. It was cookies by some lady, and there was the baker there at the thing, and they were doing these things for the students. It was back around fall break or Halloween. That's when it was, Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
So I had one of my students go over, and Cody directed the whole thing, and we edited it, and it went through Lee. Then my daughter that's in education, she just made a video last week about the place that she does teaching, the big city university. It's an after school program. They wanted to show all the unique functions that they do. And of course, Chloe, she's making videos and writing stuff up all the time for Lee. She made a world-class music video. I think the song is called Grandpa. It's kind of a country singer-songwriter song. And she made this past spring last year. And it was featuring her grandpa, who lives with us. Both mother-in-law and father-in-law were living with us at the time, and he's since passed in October this past year. So what a wonderful thing to have, that she created. And it was a school project. Mary Dukes, all those projects they come up with, and you got to, bridge the creativity with the production. And I think she really set a high bar, and she did well.
That's beautiful. That's something I love living. That's something that I love about living in modern times is like, I I was always really self-conscious to take pictures and take videos, but I'm realizing now how sentimental that can be. And
Oh
just
yeah.
taking a simple video or just a simple picture, even if it's minuscule, it just doesn't mean anything. But looking at it like a couple years later or many years later, that can really hit you in the feels. And I feel like that
Oh yeah.
video will be really special for your family.
So you mentioned something fun right there. When I was a teenager, and I grew up in Germany, went to an American high school and a military installation. In fact, my dad was in the Air Force, grew up in that environment, loved it. I had a wonderful moment where I realized taking photos was something I could cherish. And I have several books of photos, that I have. This is way before having photos on the phone and computer. This was hard copy photos with negatives, and even skiing. I would
Right.
have a camera and pull it out and take pictures, and just treat that like something I knew I would always cherish. And you're right. Those are the kind of things that you have to be self-aware of. At some point in your life, you have to realize this is going to mean something down the road, and I need to do this. If not for yourself, if maybe for your family members, your children at some point.
Hmm.
I also had a knack for creating videos back then. We had a video camera at the school, and it had a pause thing on it. So it wasn't a hard stop like the old VCR cameras had a push button. It would stop and you could hear the tape roll back and
Hmm.
whatever. This was an actual hard pause. So it would stop right there on the tape. And that's how we would do all of our shots. So if we're, setting up a one shot on this individual speaking, and then we want to reverse it and come back this way, you'd hit pause, run the tripod around, and shoot over this shoulder. We were doing this kind of stuff in high school, and doing our own sci-fi effects. I remember one time we were recreating the Star Trek intro, but instead of the flying ship going across, it was going into somebody's mouth, and it just kept getting deeper and it kept going in. It was crazy, but just some of those things that you practice out loud, kind of thing with a camera, visually trying things. And I remember thinking, this is pretty stupid stuff. However, I really enjoyed it. We tore a shoe apart one time. This guy was defining all the different things you could do with different parts of a shoe. And I'm thinking, this makes no sense. None. But if you watch that video now, I cry every time I see it. This guy still has a copy of that, lives up in Sparta, Tennessee. But he was in Germany with me. So anyway,
That's beautiful.
make
And
those moments and make them count, and they will be special forever.
if anyone wants any recommendations on, I know it's hard to, keep track, but myself and a lot of like my roommates and friends, we do this. There's an app called 1 Second Every Day, and I failed at it miserably last year, but I've been doing pretty good so far this year. But literally, you just take a video and you chop it up into 1 second on this app, and then by the end of the year, you got 365 days of
That's really
just 1 second every day. So I highly recommend that. It's a fun project. You can set a reminder on your phone to take it every day. It's really fun.
That's really cool. I saw a picture that somebody had posted about this guy that was a high school teacher, taught for 20 some years, and he wore the exact same outfit for school pictures every day for the yearbook.
That's awesome.
And it reminded me of that when you said, the one moment a day, but his change of hairstyle and different glasses, but it was always the same gold shirt. And I think he might've had a tie on or whatever, but anyway.
I love those goofy things that teachers would do. There was a cast of characters at Bradley, even whenever I was there.
Yeah,
A lot
I
of
remember we had the Three Amigos, and it was you mentioned speaking with Tucker and Richmond Flowers, the culinary teacher, and myself, and we would meet
Yeah.
for lunch every day, and it was just a brouhaha of fun. It was just 20 minutes a day, but it was the greatest release. Cut away from the classroom for a moment, and yeah, nobody made it every single day, but talk about characters. And I would add to that Chris Ware, the band teacher at the time, and of
Mr.
course,
Ware.
Lindsay. She's several characters in one person. I mean, not on a schizophrenic level, nothing like that, but she's hilarious, fun. And there's so many. You're right. You're right.
Absolutely. And I just have that was just such a formative year in my life. I remember just I remember being conscious all the time, and I remember thinking high school just felt like the end of the world sometime, especially with the car that day.
Yeah,
But you know, having the friends that I had and the teachers that I had, like it made that experience all that much better.
it was great. And did we not have a conversation about you joining show choir at some point?
Yeah, we actually haven't talked about that yet. So whenever I was in show choir, I remember well before, so I was
Yeah,
never in it until my senior year,
that's right.
and somebody dropped out, and I remember you and Laura Guyton were like,
You're the
"Hey,
one. You're
you
the
you want to
one.
do it? It's your spot." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not ready. I've never done
Yeah.
anything like this."
But again, it's stretching your abilities and tell me how much fun you had out of that. Because you,
Oh, I had a
I think
blast.
you realized you could stretch your abilities. You could rehearse those moments and make something super special out of them. We were runner up in Belmont that year. I mean,
Oh, it
how
was so
crazy is
fun.
that? Just
Yeah,
really, really cool, which set the stage for winning it a few times after that until they closed the show. So, that's really unique. And that was a special show, the one with the military, wartime and all that you guys did. That was my
I'll never
favorite.
forget our the guy song in the show was "War.
Yeah.
What is it good for?" And man, every hit in that
Yeah.
dance. I don't remember the moves, but I remember just every move was just bow
Say
bow.
it again.
Yeah, it was so fun.
Yeah, it was good. You guys were great. You did good. And then we had the lip dub that we did in the cafeteria, and you and Cody kind of were featured on that.
Yeah, me and
That was
my
a lot of
best
fun.
one of my best friends, Cody Glover. He's
That
been
was
and
awesome.
he was in my film Camp Ripley. If anyone's seen that. Um, he God, this is kind of cringy looking back, but whenever Party Rock Anthem came out, Mr. Shroyer was like, we got to do a lip dub, and that was a
We got to
huge
do it.
thing to do in high school.
Yeah.
And lip dub is just like a kind of like a flash mob sort of, and it's just a
But a
one
non-stop camera,
and a nonstop camera.
no edits.
So it's like a fun music video. So we planned to fall like cafeteria, and Cody and I were just leading the
It was
shuffle.
great. It was great. And that's still on YouTube. You can go to Bradley's YouTube. It's still
Oh,
there.
don't encourage everyone.
I thought it was pretty good. We watched that the other day too.
Really, I'm afraid to
Yeah.
watch it.
It's got some moments, but it's still so much fun. You think about us just busting into the cafeteria in the middle of a regular lunch day and doing that. How intriguing, how much fun for the students in the cafeteria to get to watch that. And not that they were really a part of it because we didn't feature any of them, but that was pretty unique.
I feel like kids these days. I'm sounding like an old man saying that, but I feel like kids these
Oh, you
days
had a little
are
this. Yeah.
more pro. They enjoy stuff like that more because, there were the kids that enjoyed it, and then whenever I was in high school, there were the kids that enjoyed it, like me and Cody and you guys. But then there were the kids that would be off in the corner, like scoffing at them. But now,
Yeah.
like Gen Z kids are all about TikTok and they
Yeah.
want to be involved in whatever's going on.
Deeply,
Mm. Do you
deeply.
find that in kids' works these days, like they're better on camera or they're more
I
comfortable with being in front of a camera?
I don't I don't know if it's about being better on camera, but it seems like they have learned how to manipulate phones, the tools on their phone, the apps on their phone, to doing really incredible things that 10 years ago we wouldn't have thought possible. And I have a former student graduated this past year. When he was in middle school, he decided he would take little plush animals and make them talk to each other and do little short shows with that.
That's fun.
So he started doing that on YouTube, started a channel, and he's not into that whole revolution of, pushing really hard to get followers or views and nothing like that. He
Right.
just he just made them. Then as he got better with it, he's adding graphics. His audio is better, and he does all the voices. And he had different things. He even made a little intro and outro. And his sophomore year of high school, he had, I'm gonna say, like He had over 10,000 followers on his YouTube channel, which I thought was pretty remarkable.
That's pretty great.
And he was telling me he was making about 800 or so a month off of that. That blew my mind. So I followed him immediately. He graduated this past year. He has over 50,000 followers now. He makes over $2,000 a month. I didn't teach him any of that. However, some of the softer sides of what he was already doing, he learned how to do better with a real camera, with a computer editing system. But to be honest with you, he still makes it with his phone or his tablet, and he's got a knack for it. And there's no reason he shouldn't continue to do that. I don't blame him for learning how to do it the best way he can and adapting and, making it better. But his show has no innuendos, no immorality, no craziness. And I just think maybe parents that have toddlers have found that channel and they feel like it's safe and they allow their kids to watch it. And if you go to the restaurants every once in a while, like I do, you see families and their younger kids, 3 and under, they almost always have a phone or a tablet while everybody's talking. Have you noticed that?
Absolutely.
And I just wonder if they're watching his channel because, it's definitely a safe variety show. It's thematic. He does holidays. He does, weather, whatever's going on, presidential. I mean, he does all of that built in.
What's it called? What's his channel called?
It's called Super Fredbear Productions, I think.
Super Fredbear Productions.
Yes, Super Fredbear Productions.
I'm gonna look that up.
And his name is Nathaniel Hawkins. He is a genius. I'm serious. I'm just laying it out there. He is a genius with this.
Yeah, I see it. He has 59,000 subscribers and 673 videos.
Yes, and some of his videos have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views.
Yes.
On the flip side of that, I have a niece that is a junior at Bradley, and she plays volleyball, and she's, in the mix of students that are having fun in school, and she does TikTok. She was over at the house about a month ago. We were finally doing Christmas with some of our extended family, and her dad was saying that she had made a TikTok video that morning, and by the time they were at our house that evening, 7-8 o'clock, it had over 1 million views. That is crazy. Wow. I said, she needs to monetize, make money. She wasn't doing any of that. She's not making any money. And she has unreal views. I mean, over 1 million. Are you kidding? I don't even know celebrities that have that in a day, except maybe the ones that they're known, that's their thing. But just the random celebrity that you don't follow that's making that many videos. And she makes a lot of videos. I'll say this for Courtney, but anyway, she needs to monetize and start making some money, pay for that college.
I can't imagine. Like, I know so many of my friends that would kill for views like that.
Yeah, I would. I'm think, that's amazing. So our views at Bradley, Walker Valley, Bradley football game this year, we had over 7,500 views. Sorry. I did collectively this past week, the entire year, this year, of all of our athletic sports on Facebook alone, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 680,000 minutes watched on programming that we put on ourselves. The views would have been somewhere over the 100,000 mark. And YouTube were kind of in that same vein, but it's remarkable. We live in this kind of a day and age. And I did just monetize the school YouTube channel, the BCHS Bear Network. And I think there's a whole $10 sitting in there waiting to be captured at some point. But
it's probably anyway, what my channel's worth at the moment.
I'm learning as I go because I don't know a whole lot about the monetizing. I've been learning, like I said. It's a different beast. When you think TV focused, you don't think about, that social media monetization. But that's how these kids are making money, opening up toys and show them what they like and dislike about it. These 7-8-year-old kids that are just killing it. I have a granddaughter. She's in that, age group. She loves those videos. I'm like, you should do those videos. you know?
Please make some
Yeah.
money for the family.
Cody's daughter, and he's got a son that he loves YouTube as well. He loves everything
Mhm.
Blippy. He's 3, so he doesn't know any better. But anyway,
That's awesome. Well, Mr. Shroyer, it was great having you on. I think we're going to close the show. Is there anything else you'd love to add or talk about?
well, I do want to give one tribute. I think all of my students take a piece of me with them when they leave the school, whether it be how I say things, innuendo, referring to something else but saying it this way, or maybe a way
Mhm.
of doing things, or meeting deadlines, or any of that. And you have to decide what it is for yourself that you've taken a piece of me away and lived with these past several years. But um, I think one of the finest things that a teacher can have told directly to them is thank you. And there's so many different ways, and you have done that tonight, and I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I hope I've got several more years to teach. I'm at least hoping I can teach maybe 9, 10 more years. But anyway, that's the greatest offering that you could give me. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
absolutely. And that's why I wanted to have you on, just to mostly say thank you and love to catch up. I love to hear what you're up to and what your family's up to. And some of that stuff may have not been interesting for everyone, but it was interesting to me. And that's what this show's about, is what's interesting to me.
Yeah,
So I loved having you on, loved getting to catch up. But yeah, everybody, Gwen Troyer. I need to get some sound effects. I need to get like a sound effects bar. Need some like crowd applause. But thank
there
you
it
for
is.
watching, everyone. Um, you can follow me on all social media platforms at Portable Trevor. You can go to youtube.com/Portable Trevor. I upload all of my episodes on there. You can catch them on there. You don't have to watch them on Twitch. I try to clean up the audio. It's just way better. I'm going to have this in podcast form soon. So, but yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Have a blessed day.